We have about 5 more questions left to answer. So we are going to quickly answer those questions and then we are going to come back to this. So just like Engineer Dami has said, I want this class to go on smoothly. Please, no break in between the class, no questions in between the class. So after the class is done, there will be 30 minutes for questions and answers, right? And then the class is being recorded. So if you're not able to catch up, if you're not able to follow up, you can always go back to the recording. And also feel free to reach out to any one of us during the week if you are trying out something on your Excel sheet and you're not getting it or it's not giving you the output you want. You can if feel free to contact any one of us. So I'm just going to go on and share my Excel sheet. Right. So yes. So I'm going to quickly come to this my AIS data and convert to a table, right? Like I did yesterday. So highlight this, click on my format as table, and then click this, then click OK. So like I said before, the reason why we convert to table is because it makes our data easier to work with. So I'm going to call this AIS table, AIS table, and press enter. So I'm going to format my arrival dates quickly. Format this to carry dates, short dates. Format this also to carry short dates. So now we are going to go on with the questions. So this was where we stopped yesterday, this particular question, calculating the total cargo tonnage for cargo ships only. And we made use of sum if to answer this question. So for this next question, we have to calculate the total cargo tonnage for cargo ships traveling to Rotterdam. So what we are going to make use of here is sum ifs. Sum ifs. So our sum if is summing based on one condition, right? While our sum ifs is summing based on multiple conditions. So we want to calculate the total cargo tonnage for ships traveling to Rotterdam. So there are two conditions attached, right? They must be cargo ships. They must be cargo ships and they must be traveling to Rotterdam. So to achieve that, we're going to make use of our sum if. We're going to say equals to sum ifs. Sum, then this time around our ifs, right? Then the first thing we have to select is our sum range. You can see from the formula here. So our from the argument here. So our sum range is going to be our cargo, right? Our cargo ton. So I'll select my table first, AIS table, then open my square brackets to select my column, which is cargo tons, right? So I'm going to select that. Then I'm going to close my square bracket. So that's my sum range. My cargo tons is my sum range. Then the next thing is my criteria range. So my criteria range is going to be ship type, right? So I'm going to select my AIS table, right? Then open my square brackets and then take my select my ship type, close my square brackets, and then the next criteria is it has to be traveling, it has to be cargo ship. So I'm going to come here, open a quote, put in my comma, open a quote and say cargo, right? So that is my first criteria. So this is basically the first criteria. So the first criteria, it must be a cargo ship, right? So it must be a cargo ship. So I've selected my first criteria. Then my second criteria is now the ship must be traveling to Rotterdam, right? So that's my second criteria. So I'm going to type in my second criteria now. Come here, type in my AIS table, AIS underscore table. Then I'm going to open my square brackets because I want to select my criteria range, which is destination ports, right? So I'm going to select my destination ports, then close my brackets and then comma. So the next thing is now my criteria itself, which is Rotterdam. So I'll open these quotes and then I'll type in Rotterdam, right? So I'm going to close this quotes and then close this bracket and press enter. So this is the total tonnage for ships traveling to Rotterdam, right? So we can easily confirm that with this our table, right? So let me quickly do that. So let me filter this my ship type. I'm just going to select only cargo, right? And I'll click OK. Then the next thing I want to select is the uh the destination port, which is Rotterdam. So I'll click on this, then untick this and select Rotterdam, and I'll click OK. So now I have just I have just the ship types, the cargo ship type that is going to Rotterdam, right? Then now the next thing I want to do is I want to bring in my subtotals, my total rows. So if I tick my total row, right, I'll come to my cargo tons here, click on this filter button and click sum. Right, you can see it here 256331. So let's check what I have here. See, it's the same thing. So that means I've answered this question now using my function. Right, so now let me untick all this back so I can have my full table. Tick, okay, untick, okay, and then click on my total row. Come back to my question. So now the next question, we have to count how many tankers appeared in the data set. So how many tankers appear in the data set? So for this, we are going to be using our count if, right? We are going to do equals to, I'm going to say count if, then I'll select my AIS table to select my range. So my range is going to be ship type, right? Ship type. So I'm going to select my ship type, right? Then comma my criteria. So my criteria is going to be tankers. I'll open a quote and type in tankers, close the quotes, close my brackets and press enter. So I don't have any tankers. Is that correct? Let me check. So that's because on my column name, I don't have tankers. What I have is tanker. But then what I wrote in this function here, in this function, was tankers. So I'm going to edit this and convert it back to tanker. Right. So then I'm going to press enter. So now tanker appeared 38 times. So I'm going to add the function that I used here so that we know the function we are using for each of these questions we are answering. So count if for this, and then for this one, sum ifs. Sum ifs. So this next question, we have to count the number of cargo ships whose destination is in Dubai. Right. So we're also going to make use of our count ifs. Count ifs. So I'm going to say my count equals to count ifs, select my count ifs, and then my criteria range is going to be my ship type. So I've selected my AIS table, then open square brackets to select my ship type column, right? Then close that the square brackets. So this is my criteria range, comma. The next thing is going to be my criteria. So what's my criteria now? My criteria is cargo. So I'll open this quote and type in cargo. So cargo ships is my first criteria. And then this next is my second criteria. So I'm going to type in my AIS table again. Type in my AIS table. Open this bracket so that I can select my second criteria, which is destination ports, right? Destination ports. And then I'm now going to go ahead to close this bracket, close my brackets, then comma. So the next is now my criteria, which is Dubai. Open my quotes and type in Dubai and close this bracket and press enter. So the number of cargo ships that their destination is Dubai are actually 4. So I'm going to type in count ifs here. Count ifs. So you know what it is. So now something else we are going into now is our lookup functions, right? Our lookup functions, and I touched them briefly when I was presenting my slide yesterday. So we have our lookup, our V lookup, our X lookup. So if you look at this, the sheets I have in this table now, right? I have my AIS data sheet that contains all my ship records, their departure dates, their cargo tons, their speed, their draught, their length, all those information. And then I also have another sheet called fuel usage. So my usage sheet is categorizing my ship into different category based on the amount of fuel that they consume, right? So you can see that my cargo is medium fuel usage, tanker is very high, container high, bulk medium, passenger low, right? So what I want to do now is I want to bring in this my fuel category into this my table to match the ship types. You get? So I'm just saying if the ship type is cargo, I want the fuel category to appear on this column as what? As medium fuel usage. You get? If it is tanker, I want it to appear as very high fuel usage. So that's basically what I'm trying to achieve. So I can use either my VLOOKUP or my XLOOKUP to achieve this. So I'm going to show you how to do that using our VLOOKUP first, then our XLOOKUP. So first, I'm going to insert a new column here. When I click on my D, then click on insert, then call this fuel usage. I'll call this column fuel usage VLOOKUP, fuel usage. Now open a bracket and say VLOOKUP because it's VLOOKUP I want to use. VLOOKUP, close the quotes, press enter. Then let me expand this. Then I'm going to do, I'll do equal to, I'll do equal to, and I'm going to say my VLOOKUP. So what is my lookup value? My lookup value is this value here because this is the value I want to check for on this my fuel usage sheet. So I'm saying if I'm going to find this passenger on this particular table, give me the value that the column that is matching it. You get? So let me show you how that works. Erase this, select my passenger, right? So my passenger is my lookup value, then comma, the next thing is my table array. So to make this easy, right, I'm going to convert this my fuel usage into a table, right? So I'm just going to highlight this, highlight all these values, then come to format as table, then click on this option here, right? Click on my table as headers and click OK. So I converted this into a table. So I'm going to call this fuel category table, fuel underscore category underscore table. Press enter, right? So I'm going to come back here, type in my equals to VLOOKUP, right? Select my lookup value, then comma, my table array. So my table array is my fuel usage. So I'm going to call my fuel category table. So this is my fuel category table. So the whole of that table now is my table array. Now say comma, my column index number. My column index number refers to the number of the column I want to return. If this value in my ship type can be matched with what I have on my fuel usage. So which is 2. So it is 2 because for my fuel usage, my fuel category that I'm trying to bring into that sheet is on the second column. My ship type is 1 column. My fuel category is 2 column. You get? So that's why I'm going to type in 2 here, right? So I'm not done 2. Then after typing my 2, I'm going to bring in a comma, right? Because I want an exact match. I'm going to have to select this my exact match. I'm going to press enter, right? So what I've done is I've just used my VLOOKUP to bring in this my fuel category, right, into this AIS data table, matching the ship type. So now you're going to see that if it is passenger, right, it's going to be low fuel usage, right? If it is container, high fuel usage, just the same with what I have on this table. So I'm going to also do the same thing with my X lookup, right? So I'm going to insert a new column, right? And I'm going to call this fuel usage. I'm going to call this fuel usage. And I'm going to call this my what's my X lookup. I'll do the same thing using my X lookup, right? So I'm going to do equals to X lookup. So my X lookup is kind of different. For my X lookup, I have my lookup value. So this is my lookup value, right? Comma. The next thing is my lookup array. So my lookup array is my ship type column on my fuel usage table. So I'm going to type in my fuel category table, open the brackets, and then I'm now going to select my ship type, right, as my fuel usage, then close the bracket. And then the next is my return array. So my return array is also going to be my fuel category table. But then what column is it? I'm returning the fuel category itself. I select the fuel category, close the bracket and close my bracket and press enter. So I achieve the same thing using my X lookup. So now, moving on to the next question, we want to answer the questions that says using a lookup. Okay, this is the last question actually. Use a lookup function to search for a ship type and return its corresponding classification from another table. So I have another table here, right? I have another sheet here on this. I have another data here on this sheet, rather, cargo classification. So I classified my cargo into a carrier class, right? So between the range of 0 and 20,000 is small carrier. Between the range of 20,000 and 60,000 is medium carrier. Between the range of 60,000 and 120,000 is heavy carrier. I think we did something similar to this in our last class, but then we made use of if, and then we were the one that came about the metric we use to calculate the level of the career class of our cargoes. You get, but then this time around it is provided for us already. So we are going to make use of this table, and then to achieve this, we are going to use our lookup function. So the reason why our VLOOKUP is not going to work in this case is because this one can't be brought in using the columns, because we are working between two range of values. We are working between 0 and 20,000. We are working between 20,001 to 60,000. We are working between 60,000 to 12,000. So because there's a range of values here, we can't choose our VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP. So the function we are going to make use of is lookup. So let me show you how lookup works. So I'm going to come to this my cargo tone here, right? Then let me insert this, insert, right? Then I'm going to call this table carrier class, carrier class, carrier class. So now for this my carrier class, let's look at our cargo classification again. So cargo between 0 and 20,000 small carrier. So this is what we're trying to bring in. We're trying to bring this carrier class into this particular column here to match the cargo tones I have. So say if a cargo tone is between 0 to 20,000, then it should be classified as small carrier. If it's between 20,000 and 1 to 60,000, it should be categorized as medium carrier. So we are going to make use of our lookup to achieve that. So we say equals to, then we say lookup, right? So this is our lookup, right? So our lookup value is this. So this is our lookup value. I'm going to select our lookup value, right? Then let's come here to continue. Then the next thing is our lookup vector. So like I did before, I'm going to convert this to a table to make it more easier for us. So I'm going to come back to this cargo classification, right? Make this a table, right? Do Control A, then Control C. You can also use Control A, Control T to turn this into a table, right? So then I'm going to call this carrier class, carrier class table. Now press enter, right? So then I'm going to go. So then I'm going to come here, then I'm going to do equals to lookup. I'm saying lookup. So what are we looking at? Our lookup value is this. Then come to my formula bar here because my function is extending, my argument is extending to this other column. So that can disturb me a bit, but I can always come into this my formula bar to continue typing my formula. So comma, my lookup vector now is going to be for my carrier class. So the max is going to, the mean is going, the cargo mean is going to be my lookup vector. Right, so I'm going to select that, then comma, my result vector is now going to be my carrier class itself. So I'll select my carrier class table and select my carrier class column. Yeah, so then I'll close my brackets and press enter. So now my cargo tones have been classified into heavy carrier, medium carrier, small carrier, based on what has been provided here. Get, so basically we've answered all the questions for this particular sheet. So now we are also going to be making use of this sheet for our analysis, for our pivot table, for our dashboard creation. we're going to be making use of this particular sheet. But then before we go into that, I want to quickly present my slide and show you what I have for today. I'm just going to come to this share here. I'm going to click on this my slide there. Share. Right. So now for today's class, we're going to be talking about our pivot tables. We're going to be talking about our charts, graphs for visualizing trends. We're going to be talking about building dashboards. In fact, we're going to be building a dashboard, not just talking about it. And then we're also going to be talking about KPIs when building our dashboard. So let's start with what a pivot table is, right? So a pivot table is basically a tool in Excel that we use to summarize our data. So we use it for aggregating our data. Say for instance, now we want to find out which ship types, right, carries the most cargo, which ship types has the most tonnage of cargo, right? So we can use our pivot table to answer that question. Again, so our pivot table is basically used to aggregate our data. Instead of making use of our functions like sum if, sum, average if, and all that, our pivot table serves as an easier way to answer business questions without actually using our functions. Again, so we can use it to summarize thousands of vessel log entries. We can use it to aggregate fuel by vessel class, average speed, and check out port delays by region, depending on the kind of data that we have. Yeah. So now, another interesting thing our pivot table does is that whenever we are working with our dates, right? So it helps us groups our dates into months, quarter, years, so that we can actually measure performance by day, by time. You get, so that's a good thing. And then it can also help us categorize. Right? So just like the example I gave earlier, it helps us categorize. We can actually aggregate. We can compare using our pivot table. Is my voice clear now? Is my voice clear now? I hope my voice is clear now. So
Yes, you're
now,
clear. Go ahead.
okay. So now the next thing we want to talk about is visualizing our data. So when we want to visualize our data, there are different charts we can make use of. So this is an example of a bar or column chart. So this is referred to as a bar or a column chart. So like this, it is called a column chart, but then it can also be referred to as a bar chart. So our bar charts or column charts are mainly used for comparison. So let's say we want to compare the performance of two or more vessels, right? Look at this. We are trying to compare annual carbon footprints across different vessel classes, right? We have vessel alpha, vessel beta, vessel gamma, vessel delta, and we are trying to compare their carbon footprints, right? So we can make use of a bar chart when visualizing this data for comparison. So next we have a line chart. So our line chart is used for looking for trends over time. Say we want to know the number of days it takes each ship to reach a particular destination from its origin ports, right? So we can make use of our line chart to do that. So our line chart is mostly used for time series analysis. It's mostly used for time trends. So that's when we make use of our line chart. So next we also have our pie charts. So our pie chart is just to show us is to show us the parts as a whole. It shows us parts as a whole. For instance, you can look at this example we have here. We have VLSFO 65% primary consumption, MGO 20% port operations, biofuel 15% pilot programs. So we are just being shown, okay, what type of fuel is mostly consumed. You get. So that's basically what our pie chart shows. It shows parts of things, parts of a group as a whole. So that's what our pie chart is used for. So as we start building our dashboards, we are going to see the practical use case of all this, right? So our dashboard is basically trying to bring in all of these charts, right? So whenever we answer a particular question using our pivot table, say we have a business question we want to answer, and then we answer that question using our pivot table, right? So we are not going to just present that question like that. We're not just going to present the raw data like that. We are going to present it as a chart, right? So, and I've given us the basic examples of charts that we have: our column bar charts, our line charts, our pie charts. So the combination of all these charts are going to make something we call a dashboard. So a very important feature of a dashboard is something called clarity, right? So whenever you want to make a dashboard, whenever come you've come out with your insights based on the data you have, you've done your pivot table, you've made some findings, you've gotten some realizations, and you want to start building your dashboard, the first thing you must put in mind is that your dashboard must be clear. So you must consider the time that your dashboard is going to be used. Is it during the day? Is it during the night? What kind of color should I use? I don't want to make my dashboard too clumsy. You get, so you must always put that in mind. So your dashboard must also be responsive. So I'm going to be showing us how to use slicers. So slicers makes our dashboard responsive. So also your dashboard must show what is not working using colors. For instance, now speed deviations, you can highlight it in red. You get, so all your colors must pass a sort of message. So when you are showing green, when you are making use of green, when you are making use of red, all those colors should all pass a message. You get. So now something important also are our KPIs, right? So whenever we are making use of our dashboard, right, KPIs are very, very important. So right now we want to get right into the data sets we are going to make use of. It is still the same data sets we'll be making use of all this time. But then we have a couple of questions we are going to be answering with that data, right? So let me come back to this data set. Share. So give me a few minutes. Let me pull up those questions again. Right. Okay. So okay, so I want to share those questions with you now. Right. So we have these questions now that we want to answer based on our AIS data that we have. Right. So this is just a scenario, right? This is a case scenario where you are a maritime data analyst, and then the operations team, they provided the data sets that contains vessel information, cargo tonnage, voyage routes, and all that information. And then what they are trying to do, they are trying to improve their fleet efficiency, their route profitability, and port operations. So they've given you some certain questions that you have to answer, right? So you can answer most of these questions we have here with your functions, like with your functions like your sum if, your count if, and all that. But the easiest way to go about answering all these questions, especially for visualization, because for the purpose of visualization, is using your pivot table, right? So you can see that the questions are being categorized into different aspects of the operations: cargo performance, route optimization, fleet utilization, port activity, vessel efficiency, speed and operational efficiency, voyage duration, and also crew operations. So your deliverables should include key KPIs and metrics, visualizations, insights, and recommendations. So we are going to be working on this together, right? So now our first question is cargo performance. So we are being asked how much total cargo has been transported across all voyages? Which vessel transports the highest cargo volumes? So we are going to be answering this question with our pivot table. So I'm going to start sharing my data sets once again. So now we can see my data sets right now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here. I'm going to come to this insert up here, right? So I'm going to come to insert. So under this my inserts, you can see pivot table, right? So if I click on pivot table, I can easily start working my pivot table, right? So I also have table design here. So under my table design, the moment I convert my sheet, my range to a table, I'm going to have table design here. There's the option to summarize with pivot table also. So let's say I click this, I can use this, I can also use the one at insert. It's going to ask me I should select a table or a range for my pivot table. But my table name is already appearing here, AIS table. So all I have to do is just to tick new worksheet. So then I'm just going to click OK. So a new, I'll be taken to a new worksheet with all this. So I'm going to be explaining all. I might not have time to go in depth, but I just want to teach you guys how this our pivot table, how it actually works. Right. So first of all, I'm going to rename this my sheet as analysis. Right. So I'm going to call this sheet analysis. Analysis. So now the first question we're being asked is what is our total cargo tonnage, right? So that's basically what it is. So if you look at my pivot table, I have something called my pivot table fields. So to this right hand side, my pivot table fields. So they contain all my column headers, right? And then beside them, I have also these areas. I have filters, I have columns, I have rows and values. So most of your analysis, right? Most of the questions you are going to be answering, you are going to be making use of this your rows and this your values. So this your values play the role of a function. Like if you want to sum a particular value, you want to find the average, you want to do all that, you bring that value here. So in simpler words, whatever numerical column you have, right, should always come into these values, right? So now remember that for our first question, we are trying to find, what are we trying to find? We are trying to find we are trying to find how much total cargo has been transported across all voyages, which basically means we want to sum our cargo using our pivot table. So this is how we are going to go about it. So I'm going to come to this my pivot tables here, and then I'm going to come down to my cargo tones column here, right? So I'm going to drag this my cargo tones to values. You get. So the moment I drag it to these values here, right? You see what's happening? It automatically sums it for me as a table on its own. You get? So it automatically sums it for me as a table on its own. So I have other options, right? Say I don't want to sum my cargo tons. Say I want to find the average cargo tons. I have this small arrow beside this. All I have to do is just to click it, and then I'll click on this value field settings, right? I'll click on value field settings, and then I have the option to sum, to count, right? To choose the average, to choose the max, mean. All I have to do is just to click OK, and then it's going to be that. So I'm going to leave it as my sum because that's the question we're answering. Then I'll click OK. So basically, this is the sum of my cargo tons. So what I want to quickly do now is I want to copy my questions from this my sheet here. So I'm going to copy my questions from here. Let me copy this. Let me copy all these questions. Let me copy all these questions. What to see. Right, then come back to my sheets and then paste them somewhere. I'm going to open a new sheet. Open a new sheet and then paste it here to view. Right. So now the first question we're answering is how much total cargo has been transported across voyages. So I'm going to copy this question here. Control A, Control C, come back to my analysis sheet, right? And then paste this question above my pivot table. So I know the question I'm answering. So this is the question I'm answering here. How much total cargo has been transported across all voyages? So my pivot table is answering this question. So if you notice that the moment I click off my pivot table, so this is my pivot table, right? The moment I click off it, my pivot table disappears, right? So what I'll do is if I want to answer another question is I'm going to have to come here, come to this pivot table I have here. Let's come to this pivot table I have here. Select all the values in the pivot table, right? Using like my Control A and then do Control C, right? Then I'm going to come beside here, beside this pivot table and do Control V, right? So you can see I have my pivot table appear here. All I had to do was just to copy my pivot table again and then paste it here. So what's our next question asking? So I'm going to come back here and then I'm going to copy this my questions, Control A, Control C, come back to my analysis sheet, and then paste it here, right? Control V. So this question is asking which vessel transports the highest cargo volumes. So because I copied this pivot table I have here, it also automatically copied the column I have selected, right? So what I'm going to do is to answer this question, I'm going to untick what I've ticked. Although I don't really need to untick it because it is still in line with the question I'm trying to answer here. Right. So the question I'm trying to answer here is which vessel transports which vessels transports the highest cargo volumes. Right. So now I'm just basically going to tick my vessel name. So if I tick my vessel name, it's automatically going to come to my rules. You get, so this my rules. We know what rules are, right? So these are my rules here. So that's come to my rules now. I have this. My vessel name is in my rules. My cargo tones is in these values. So now I can know, okay, which vessel transport the highest cargo volumes. I can see the my vessel, right? I can see the um total cargo tons. So what I want to do is I want to rename this whole label. I want to call it my vessel name. So I'm going to come here, then I'll double click on it, and then I'll click on vessel name. Right, I'll select vessel vessel name, vessel name. Right, and I press enter. So I'm good to go. So this is my vessel name, and this is my sum of cargo tons. So what I want to do now is I want to right click on this my sum of cargo tons, and then I'll now come to this option that says sort. So I want to sort from largest to smallest. If I sort from largest to smallest, I can see my vessel name. I can see the vessel transporting the highest cargo, which is Pacific Carrier. So basically, we've answered those questions under our we've answered our first questions under cargo performance using our pivot table. So now the next question we want to answer are under our route optimization. Which origin destination routes carry the most cargo? So let me copy these questions. Right. So come here. Control A, Control C. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all the questions at once so that you can just move. Control V. Right. So come here. Select this. C. Control V. So now the next question we want to answer, which origin I think destination routes carry the most cargo? So we want to know where we want to know the origins, right, that are carrying the most cargo, the origin spots that are carrying the most cargo, the destination ports that are carrying the most cargo. So what we are going to do is we are going to copy this pivot table we have here, right? So we are going to copy this pivot table we have here. Let's say Control A, or let me just highlight it this way. Highlight it, do Control C, right? Come down here and then do Control V. So I have this here. Let me stretch this out. So which origin? So what I'm only going to change is just my vessel name. I'm going to convert on tick this vessel name and tick origin port, right? So I'm going to copy this and do the same thing for my destination ports. Control C and come down here, Control V, right? So I'm going to call this my origin ports, origin ports, origin ports. Press enter. Then come down here and call this my destination ports. Destination ports. Press enter. So now I've answered the next question. So the next question is which routes are used frequently? Right, which routes are used frequently? Copy this. Let me paste it in this cell so that I can have space here. So now, which route I use frequently? All I have to do now is I have to copy my pivot table again. Right, so I'll do Control A, right? Control A, or just highlight all the values here and do Control C and come down here and do Control V, right? So the next question I now want to answer is which route are most frequently used? So how do we know the words that are most frequently used? So we can know the words that are most frequently used. Actually, we've answered this question from here, from the destination, ports and the origin ports, right? So you can know the words that are mostly used from the destination ports and the origin ports. So if we look at our origin ports now, we have more. Let's order this. So to order it, I'm going to select this my. I'll right click on this my sum of cargo, and see the option to sort. Then sort largest to smallest. So Hamburg is my origin port that is mostly used. I then right click on this, come to my sort largest to smallest, right? So even my destination port is also okay. This is not origin port. This table is not origin port. It's not destination port. I mean, it is origin port. So I'll untick this origin and tick destination. So let's right click this, click on sort largest to smallest, right? So it's still the same thing. Amsburg. Amsburg is still the destination port mostly used, right? So now I can delete this. So to delete the pivot table, you right click on it, you see the option to delete, click on delete. So because this is also answering this question. So let me see. Then let me just bring this question above here, Control V, right? So now the next question we are going to be answering is on this sheet here. Erase this. Come to this my sheet one. Which vessels are used most frequently for voyages? I'm going to copy this. Which vessels are used most frequently for voyages? Control C. Come here and Control V. Right. So which vessels are used most frequently for voyages? I'm going to copy this one again. Copy this. Come here. Paste it. Then how do I know vessel used most frequently for voyages? So I will tick my origin port, I'll tick my cargo tones, and I'm going to tick my vessel name, right? So my vessel name will come to my rows, but then because I want to know the vessel used most frequently for voyages, my vessel name is also going to come to my values. So I'm going to drag my vessel name to my values. So because I'm bringing a text column into this my values, automatically it is going to count it, right? So, and remember that each record represents a voyage, right? So whenever we see a vessel name, right, and then we see the count of vessel name, know that, oh, this particular vessel went on a voyage this number of times. This particular vessel went on a voyage this number of times, you get. So I'm just going to edit this name and call it vessel name. Edit my origin ports, call it vessel name. Press enter. Right? So we've answered the question. Which vessels are used most frequently for voyages? So we've answered that question. So what we now have to do is we have to order this to get our answer to that. So sort largest to smallest, right? So which is mostly used are Pacific carrier. Get. So now our next question has come down to sheets. Are there ships that appear underutilized? So we are going to come here, copy this question, A, Control C. And so, is there any ship that's looking underutilized? It looks like all the vessels we have are actually being used properly. So this also kind of answer it. The maximum number of times a ship has gone on a voyage is 34, and then the minimum number of times a vessel has gone on a voyage is 25. So so I believe that there's no ship that is underutilized. All our vessels are being used are being used properly. So now let's go on to the next question. So now our next question is, which port experiences the highest number of arrivals and departures? Which ports experience the highest number of arrivals and departures? Are there ports that may be experiencing congestions? So we are going to come to this, back to our analysis here, right? Then we are going to copy. Let's copy our question first. Copy our question. Come back to analysis sheets and then paste our question up. Let's see. Okay, we have to paste it here. Paste it here. Which ports experience the highest number? So let's copy our pivot table, right? Then Control C. Let me copy that finish. Control C and then this Control V. So then I'm going to come here, right? So let's minimize this. So select then my origin ports first. My origin ports, then the number of times my origin ports is being visited, right? So my origin port is basically departure, right? So I'm going to call this ports ports name, right? And I'm going to say number of departures. Call this number of departures. So if I want to edit my values, right? If I want to edit my values, I'm going to double click on this and then this box will pop out. Or I can also do it here, right? I'll come to this arrow here, click on this, click on value field settings, and I want to call this my number of departures, right? So I'm going to double click on this, come here, and then click number of departures. Number of departures. So then I can sort this. I click on this and then click on sort, sort largest to smallest, right? So we can see that the port with the highest number of departures is voted down. So now let's check for the port with the highest number of arrivals, right? So just going to highlight this also, Control C, then paste this here, and Control V, right? So the only thing that is going to change here now is going to be my origin port. I'll change my origin port to destination port, right? I'm also going to drag it to my value so that it can be counted. You get, then my port name, then I'm going to call this my number of arrivals. So number of arrivals, number of arrivals, number of arrivals, and then click OK. Okay, so right, so this is now my number of arrivals. So now the next thing we're now going to do is we are going to sort this, sort largest to smallest. So we can see that our Hamburg has the highest number of arrivals, right? So now on to our next question. Let's see. So we're going to be putting our next question here. Come to this sheet. So are there any ports that may be experiencing congestion? So already when we look at this, we can tell if there are any ports experiencing congestion. So can see that they are none. So next is vessel efficiency. Right. So for our vessel efficiency, do larger vessels based on length or drought transport more cargo? So we are going to copy this question also. Copy, Control C, come to analysis sheets, paste this here, right? Straighten out that sheet, come here, copy this, Control A, Control C, Control V, right? So now what we want to look at now are our length or drought against our cargo tons. So I'm going to untick my destination ports, leave my cargo tons ticked, and I'm going to bring, let's start with our length. So I'm going to drag my length to rows, right? So I want to look for like the um highest cargoes, right? So if I check the like top 10 highest cargoes, and I'm going to see my vessel length. So I'm going to see my vessel length, and then I'm also going to check for the max and the mean of my vessel length. So that will determine if my larger vessels is based, if the number of cargoes, the tons of cargoes carried by my vessel are dependent on the length or drought. So I'm going to right click on this, right? And then I'm going to click on sort, right? Sort largest to smallest. So we can see this is 222. So now we want to filter this by the top 10. We just want to see like the first 10, right? So we are going to right click on this our destination ports. We have filter option, right? So we are going to come to this filter and click on top 10, right? So top 10 items based by our sum of cargo tons. Then we click OK. So we've limited this to the first 10. So now what you now want to check now is the maximum length and then the minimum length. So when we get the maximum length and the minimum length, this will help us now see, right, if our um if the length of our cargo determines the number, if the length of our vessel determines the tons of cargo that it carries. So let's come here. Let's call this maximum. Let's see max length. Let's say max length here. Max length. So for our max length, we come under here. Right. Let's copy our pivot table here. Copy this. Control C. Control C. Paste this here. Control V. Right. So we want to untick all this, untick, then leave only our length. We want to bring our length to values, and then this time around we don't want to sum, we want to find the maximum. So we click on this valued field settings, we click on the arrow beside our sum of length beside this value here, then our value field settings, then we click on max, then we click on OK. So we can see our maximum length, right? So the next thing we want to check for now is our minimum length. So we're going to type in minimum length. Minimum length. So for our minimum length, we're going to copy this pivot table also again. Control C, come down here, do Control V, right? Then press Escape button. So I'm going to come down to this length here, right? Value field settings and tick mean. Then we click OK. So now what's our minimum length? Our minimum length is 120, right? And our maximum length is 350. So but then if you look at the top 10 cargoes that are carrying the highest cargoes, if you look at the top 10 ships, right, that are carrying the highest cargo, right, based on their length, you can see that we don't even have the maximum length here. We don't have 350 here, right? But you can even see 137 here, right? So you can see 137 here, and you can see the number of cargo tons a ship of 137 length is carrying. You get, so that just goes on to tell you that our length does not really determine how much cargo a ship transports. You get. So now we want to answer the same question for drought. Right. So let's copy this. So we are going to copy this, Control C, come under here, Control V. Right. So this time around, instead of length, you are going to make use of droughts. I'll take this, take our droughts in this droughts here. Then for my droughts, I want to also do the same, make it top 10. So I'm going to right click on my length, right click on my length, come to filter and come to top 10, right? By sum of cargo tons, yes, then click OK, right? So now let's check for the maximum and minimum um droughts. This is my drought. So let's check for the maximum and minimum drought, right? So we're going to come here, right? So I'm going to say my max drought. I'm going to come here and see my mean drought. Drought. Then come down here and then I'm going to copy this pivot table here. Control C, paste it here. Control V, and copy this one again. Control C, paste it here. Control V. So what is changing now in this is my droughts. So the next is going to be my maximum, right? So I can take my length, take my droughts, and then click on this value field settings, make this max, and click OK. Right, so my maximum drought is 4.85. My minimum drought is 6.04. So does this mean that my ship's drought determines the tons of cargo that is being shipped, that is being transported? This drought now is 6.57, right? So even though the ship's drought is 6.57, the tons of cargo it is shipping is even larger than this, which is 14.02, which is the closest to our maximum drought. So nope, there is no correlation. So I hope we're all together. I hope we're all together because it seems like I've been talking since.
Yes, we are together for me. It's quite insightful.
Okay, okay,
Would you
okay.
like to?
So now the next question that we want, yeah.
No, sorry. I just wanted to say if you like to hear people speak to you so you don't sound like a robot, or you are going to allow them speak during the allocated time.
No, we'll leave that to the allocated time till
Yes,
the end of the
I'm going to
class.
allow them.
Okay.
Yes. So now our next question. So I'm going to come back to this my sheet here. So our next question is, so I think I'm going to stop at this number 6 questions. Oh, okay, I'm almost done. So I'll finish up the questions and then we go into the dashboard. So our next question is, which ships have the highest cargo efficiency per voyage? So that means we want to check our ship our cargo tones. So we are going to copy this. Copy this. Come back here to analysis sheet. Come down here and then paste this. So which ships have the highest cargo efficiency? So as usual, we're going to have to copy our pivot table. Copy our pivot table. See, Control V. Control V. And then okay, let me come to my why is my pivot table is not showing? Okay, that's because I didn't copy it correctly. So let me come home, clear formats. So let me highlight this again. Copy my pivot table, Control C. Come down here, Control V. So I'm going to untick my cargo tones, untick my cargo tones, untick my droughts, and then I'm going to select my ship type. Select my ship type. So my ship type will go to my rows, and then the next thing is my cargo tones. Right. So I can see that. So the next thing to do is to sort this. Let me first of all rename this. I'll call this my ship underscore ship type. Yes, then I'm going to sort this, sort largest to smallest, and then so our bulk carrier has the highest cargo efficiency, right? So now our next question is what is the average speed vessel? So what is the average speed vessel? So let me copy this question also. Control A, Control C. Going to come down here, then paste the questions here. Average speed vessel. Copy my pivot table. Paste this here. So all I have to do is untick everything here, right? And then tick just my speed notes, and then I don't want this to be sum. I want it to be average. Value field settings, then average, and then click OK. Right. So this is my average speed, and I want to round it up to one decimal place. So 14.9. And then let's come down to this next question. The certain ship types operate at higher or lower speeds. So I'm going to come here, copy this, copy this question, Control A. Are we together now? I think my network got cut off, but I hope we are together now. Yeah, okay. So our next question is: do certain ship types operate at higher or lower speeds? Right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy this my pivot table, bring it down here, and then I'm going to paste this, and then I'm going to untick my ship type. I'm going to untick my sum of cargo tones. untick it, and then tick my speed notes. Then I want to select the average, value field settings, average, and click OK. Right, so let's take out the decimal points. Yes. So basically the lowest average speed note is 14, while the highest is 15. So there's no higher or lower, they are within the same range. So now our next question is, how long do voyages typically take between departure and arrival? So how long do voyages typically take between departure and arrival? So I'm going to copy this question also. Control A, Control C. I'm going to come here, come to this. So copy my. So now on my table, on my AIS data table, I don't have the difference between my arrival dates and my destination dates. So just like I did in the last class, I'm going to use my date difference, right? I'm going to use my date difference to get that, right? So I'm going to insert, right? And I'm going to do equal to date diff, then open the brackets, right? So you see that my date diff did not come out until I typed it in full and then open the brackets. That's when it came out. So I'm going to click on my arrival date, right? Comma, then my departure dates. Right. Let me straighten this sheet out. Sorry. Okay. Equals to my dates diff, open my brackets, select this, comma, my departure dates, select, then comma, open my quotes, then put in my D, close my quotes, close my brackets, press enter. So then I'm going to convert this to number. So it's going to give me the days, right? Number. I'm going to call this days between arrival and departure. So I'll say days between arrival and departure, right? So now, what I'm now going to do is, if I come to my pivot table now, let's say I come back to this my analysis sheet, you can see that I don't have that my days between arrival and departure here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to refresh my pivot table. So it is when I refresh my table, I'm going to see the new column I just added. So I just added a new column, right, to get the dates between my departure and arrival. But I made use of my date diff function. That's what I just did. So because it's a new column, it's not going to automatically appear here. I'm going to have to select a pivot table so that this my pivot table analyze tab. Ribbon will come out. Then when I click on it, I'm going to come to this refresh button here under data. So I'll click on refresh and click on this refresh all. So once I click on refresh all, you can see now I have my days between arrival and departure column here, right? So what I'm now going to do now is I'm going to copy this pivot table, copy my pivot table, come under my question, paste it, right? And then what I want to tick now is the days between, but I don't want to sum it. I want to make it average, right? So let's check question again. How long do voyages typically take between departure and arrival? Are there voyages that take significantly longer than expected? So we are using our ship type to actually answer this question. So the good thing about this pivot table is that, okay, already we know that the our average days between arrival and departure for each of these ships are 5, 6. So we want to look for the overall average. We want to look for the overall average. So what you're going to do is, since you already have this column here, you're just going to untick this as ship type, right, and leave the average. So our average is 6. So that means if we do for the ship type or vessel, and then we have a vessel that is more than this average, then it is something that should be looked into. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy this again. Let me copy this. Come down here, do Control V, and then let me now select my vessel name. Right. Okay. So I have blue whale now. So blue whale. Let me rename this to vessel. So I'm going to call this my vessel. So my blue whale takes about 7 days. So the good thing about the pivot table is if I want to look for more details on a particular information, for instance, this blue whale that takes 7 days, I can double click on it, right? So once I double click on it, it's going to open a new detail sheet for me that's going to give me information on blue whale. You get, so just like my table is being filtered based on my vessel name. You get, and I'm going to get the rest of information like the days between. Consider for my blue whale now, I even have some days that it takes up to 10. But then if you look at the origin and destination ports, it is between Rotterdam and Hamburg. It took 10, Singapore and Antwerp. So the good thing is that even with my pivot table, I can do like a whole detailed analysis. You get, and try to understand the root problem. So what I want to do now is I want us to stop here. I want us to stop answering this question here, but then you have an idea of how pivot table works now. So you can go ahead to answer this last question here. Which captains are responsible for the highest number of voyages? Which captains oversee the transportation of the largest cargo volumes? I'm sure you can attempt this with your pivot table. So what we want to go into now is building our pivot table, right? I mean, it's building our dashboard, right? So when you want to build a dashboard in Excel, right, the first thing you want to do is you want to create a layout, because the truth is that Excel was not particularly made for creating dashboards, right? It was made for handling data, but there are some features on Excel that also helps us create that dashboard. So now the first thing we are going to do is we are going to create our layout in PowerPoint, right? So we are going to create a layout in PowerPoint. After creating the layout in PowerPoint, we'll bring it to a sheet on Excel, convert each of these questions we've answered to a chart, and then we are going to start. We're going to start building a dashboard. So let me just file, new, open a blank presentation. Right. So now let me share this blank presentation with you guys. So click on share. Right. So I want to create the layout for my dashboard using my PowerPoint. Right. So my PowerPoint automatically is set as, sorry. My PowerPoint is set automatically as a white screen 16 by 9, so which is very good for a dashboard. So what I want to do is I want to delete this. If I click on this, I'll click on delete. I click on this, I'll click on delete. So basically for my dashboard, I'm going to have my KPIs and I'm going to have my charts. So I'm going to come to my insert, right? And I'm going to click on insert shapes. So I want to insert this shape here. Click on this shape here. And I'm going to form some sort of small box here, right? So I'm going to form a small box here, form this box, then copy this, Control C V, drag it down a bit. Just want this to carry my KPIs. So I'm going to have a navigation bar. It's because from what I can see, we have a lot of charts there. So we definitely need like a navigation bar that can help us move between one sheet to another. Right, so this is going to be the navigation bar. Then for my charts also, I'm going to bring this, I'm going to drag this. So this is going to be for my KPI, right? So bring this and this a bit. So I'm going to have about 4 KPIs. Right, so let me just try to measure to CV, CV, CV. Sorry, bring this here, bring this here, and bring this here. They're not distributed evenly. Mhm. So let me increase this a bit. Delete this. Delete this. Who is Bolanle? Do you have something to say? Please let it wait after the class. Let it wait till after the class. After the class, we are going to answer any questions you have. So we just want to try to round up the class within the next 35 minutes. Within the next 35 to 45 minutes. So your questions can come in after them, please. So trying to create the layout for my dashboard. Because like I said before, Excel does not really have it was not created for making dashboards. You get, so Power BI is that's the main purpose of Power BI for creating dashboards. But then there's a way you can also create charts in Excel that can convert to dashboards. But then for your dashboard to look presentable, you have to make some sort of design, which is what I'm doing now to CV. So now I'm making use of my PowerPoints to do those designs. So what we call this wireframing in dashboard creation. So I'm wireframing what my dashboard is going to look like using PowerPoint. So when I'm done with this, I'm going to copy all of this, right? Copy all of these shapes, copy it into my Excel, right? So I'm going to have something to work with in my Excel in this here. So this is still not equal. And let's this make this a bit more. Right? Control CV. Bring this down here. Yes. Make it looks better. See. Bring this down here. Extend this. Right. Put on it with this on the matching. This here. Bits. Choose, select. Column. Okay. So now let me increase this a bit. Yes, so increase this a bit. This will carry this is going to where my header will be. So this is going to be my navigation. This is going to be a KPI, a KPI, a KPI, a KPI, my charts, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to highlight this shape, come to my shape fill, click on no fill. I don't want any fill. Then I'm going to click on shape outline, right? Shape outline, and let me click no outline. Okay, for my shape fill, let me use this light blue. Choose this very light blue here. And I'll come to shape effect and I'll click on this shadow here, right? So then I'm going to copy this format. I'll come to my home under this my clipboard here, this format printer. Click on it once I've highlighted this, then paste here. Click on this also, paste here. Click on this also, paste here. Click on this, 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 then paste here. And then what I want to do now is I want to insert another shape. Insert, come to my shapes.
Hello, is anyone in this class speaking? Or my network is bad?
No, no one is speaking. I
Okay.
think Peculiar is still working on something. Hello, Peculiar, are you there?
Yes, yes, I'm there. I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
You can hear me, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'm going to pull this upward. And then what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to bring in those shapes I've created.
Peculiar, I think you should be speaking while you're doing what you're doing because we're not hearing. It's either we're feeling either your network is bad just like you were doing. Or
Can you hear me now? Are you
yeah,
hearing me?
yeah, have you been speaking?
Yeah, I've actually been speaking. I think network is breaking.
Oh, Dami, were you hearing him?
So you start speaking now. I thought maybe you were just working on something. I was not hearing anything.
Tequila, are you speaking? If you're speaking, let's know that you are speaking. Are you speaking?
Yes, yes, I'm speaking.
So the whole time you have been speaking the whole time?
Yes, I've been speaking.
Ah, no one has been hearing anything you've been saying, no.
Hello, Peculiar. Okay. Probably we should just take about 5 minutes break, and he will log out and rejoin back. Peculiar, if you can hear me, just log out and rejoin back again. And please, let's have our questions ready because we'll be taking questions in about 30 minutes. We're rounding up the class in about 30 minutes. So let's have our question ready while we're waiting for Peculiar to join back.
Hello, can you all hear me now?
Yes, affirmative.
Okay. So what I did was I created the layout for this inside my PowerPoint, right? So after I created the layout, I grouped all this as one in my PowerPoint. So after grouping it as one, okay, you know what? I'll just quickly walk us through the process again. So I'll present my PowerPoint now. So share my PowerPoint. Right, so let me undo what I did before. So this was what I created. I think we also saw the way I brought in the shapes and just work with the shapes. So then I'm going to do Control A to highlight everything. So after highlighting everything, I'll come to my shape formats here, right? And I'll click on group. So this is my group here. I'll click on it, then I'll click on this group here. Then it's going to highlight everything as one. Then after it has highlighted everything as one, I can now copy this. So to copy, I'll just do my Control C. So it's copied. Then I'm going to come to my Excel. I'll come to my Excel, create a new sheet, name the sheet visuals, and paste it there. So I can start putting in my charts and start bringing it all in. So now the first thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to give this a name, right? So I'm going to give this a name. I'm going to call this so you guys should give me suggestions for a name I can call this dashboard based on the questions we've answered. So just type it in the chat. Based on the questions that we've answered, I need suggestions for the name for this dashboard. Anyone? Okay, so one minute for suggestions. I'll just continue working on the dashboard. So now we want to bring in our KPI. So our KPI is here. This our total cargo that has been transported will be a KPI, right? Sum of cargo tons will be a KPI. Let's go through it. Our max length, mean length will be a KPI. Our average speed knots will be a KPI also. Our what else do we have here? Average days between arrival and departure is also going to be a KPI. So we just want to work with four KPIs, right? We want to work with four KPIs. So and I'm going to choose our total cargo. I'm going to choose our average speed notes, and I'm also going to choose average days between arrival and departure. And I think I'm going to go with maximum length. Maximum length. So I'm going to come back to this my visual here, and I'm going to put the names above all these my boxes. So I'm going to I'm going to come to my insert, come to insert, come to illustrations, come to my shapes and click on this. So if you're using Power BI, you really don't have to be doing all of this because you have the option to just tick, and then whatever it is you are doing, we just reflect. But then with Excel, you have to do all of this manually to create a presentable dashboard. So I'm going to call this total cargo. Then I want to take out the fill, no fill, take out the shape outline, no outline, and then Control A so that I can give this, make this black, make this black, and then add lamp display. So the name of this is total cargo. Then I'm also going to make it, let me make it 14. So I think 14 is clear enough. Then Control E to center it. Then I can copy this, Control C, V, Control Z. Can copy this. I'm going to copy this my total cargo. Control C, V, Control C, V, Control C, V. So there are four now. Right. So I'm going to bring this 1 year. I'm going to bring this 1 year. I'm going to bring this 1 year. Right. So my total cargo. So my average speed notes. I'll call this average speed notes. Average speed. I'm going to say average speed. I'm going to call this my maximum length, max length. Then I'm going to call this my average days, average days. So that's basically my average days between arrival and departure. Right. So average days. So I have the name of my KPIs. So now to bring in my KPIs, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come inside this shape. I'll double click on this shape so that um my cursor can come out here, my typing cursor. Now I'm going to put in an equal to, right? I'll type in an equal to. So once I type in that equal to, I'll come to my formula bar also and type in the equal to, right? So after typing in the equal to, I'm going to come to my analysis page where I have my answers, and I'm going to select this answer for my sum of cargo tons. I'll select the value and press enter. Right, so you can see my total cargo value here. So I'm going to double click on it, right? Highlight it, make it a bit bold. Highlight it, increase the font, make it a bit bold, change the font, right? So I think this is okay. And we are going to do the same for our average speed. So I'm going to double click on this average speed, put in my equal to, come to my formula bar also, type in my equal to, right? Come to my analysis sheet, and I'm going to come to the particular pivot table that is answering my average speed question. So this is it here. Select it, then press enter. So I should have my average speed. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to double click on this. Then I'm going to highlight it, right? Then increase the font to 14. Let's make it 24. Then make it bold and choose my add lamp display, right? So that's that. So you can do the rest yourself, just the same way I did for total cargo and average speed. So you do the same for your max length. So now this particular question, which is which vessel transport the highest cargo volumes? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this my pivot table, right? Then I'm going to come to insert. So under insert, I have a chart tab. Under my insert ribbon, I have a chart tab. So I can click on recommended charts. So my recommended chart is going to bring out the chart that thinks is most favorable for answering this question. So you can see now that what I have here is a clustered column, is a column chart actually. So, but what I feel like is going to fit my landscape position is going to be like it's going to be like a bar chart, right? So a bar chart. So I want a bar chart like this. But then if you look at this, my bar chart, it started from the lowest, it starts from the smallest, right? So I want it to be from the largest. So to achieve that, I'm going to sort this my sum of cargo tons. I'm going to sort it from smallest to largest. Sort it from smallest to largest. Make sure it is selected. Come back to my recommended charts. Click on my bar charts, right? So I have my bar charts here. Then I'll click OK, right? So I want to format this bar chart, right? I'm going to right click on this. Right click on this, my field, sum of cargo tons, personal name. I just have to right click on this. I called my fields, right? Then I'm going to click hide all field buttons on charts. Then I'm going to tick it. I'm going to tick hide all field buttons. Then this, my horizontal value axis, I'm just going to have to select any one of them, maybe 0 or 50,000, any one of them. Just select them and right click and click delete, right? So I also have some grid lines here. I have some grid lines. I don't want these grid lines also, so I'll tick them, remove that, take out this total. I don't want it. And then give this a name, right? I'm going to call this, I'll call this, I'll type out the name of the question there. Which vessels transport the highest cargo volumes, right? So I can reduce the font size, make it a bit smaller. Highlight this, come to my home, and then maybe make this just like 10, right? And I think we are good. Then I want to change this color, right? So because my chart is selected, I have this format chart area options here. So if I click on my bar charts, right, it's going to lead me to my series options. So this series option is going to help me to style this my bar charts. So I want to change the color, right? I'm going to come to this field here, right? And then under this field, I have this color here. Right? Click on this color, right? I'm going to see, I want to go with this. I'm going to click on this. Then I think we are good. Is this the same color of my charts? Let me check this my visuals. Oh, it's the same color. So I have to go with something darker. So select this. Then let me go with this. Right. So I think the original one was okay. So what I want to do now is I want to increase it. It's looking too thin. Right. So I'm going to click on this. Come to this my series options. And then my gap width, let me make it 102. And it's a bit fatter, right? And then now the next thing I want to do is I want to add my data labels. I'm going to right click on this, click on add data labels so that I can see the cargo volume for each vessel. For Pacific Carrier now, which is the highest, I can see the cargo volume. For sea horizon, I can see the cargo volume. So now that I've done this, I can now take this, let me say, let me copy this, and let me cut this my visuals here, and then paste it here, right? So I'm just going to drag this, my charts into this, right? Then it's going to fit the box I've created, fit it, and then I'm going to take out my outline. I'm going to take out my outline. So to take out my outline, I'll come to this my format here, right? And then I'm going to come to this my shape view. I'll click on no fill. Then shape outline also, I'll click on no outline. So this is basically my chart. This is a chart I brought into this. So this is a bar chart, right? So like I said, our bar chart is used for comparison. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to compare the cargo tonnage for each vessel, right? That is the reason why we are making use of a bar chart. Yes, like I said, our bar chart is used for comparison. So now we want to answer our next question. So we're going to bring in the charts, right? So we're going to bring in our charts. So let's come back to analysis here. And then our next question says, which words are most frequently used? So which words are most frequently used? So let's select or let's put this in first. Which vessels are used most frequently for voyages? Right. So I'm going to select this chart, come to my insert, right, click on recommended charts. I can also use a bar chart, right? So I'll select the bar chart. And then it is best that whenever you are creating a dashboard, right, you don't use more than 2 to 3 charts. Right. So you just stick with maybe 2 to 3 charts. Just you can stick with a column chart, a pie chart, and let's say a line chart, right? If you're having different kind of chart, different variations of charts, your work is going to look clustered. And for a particular page, you should not have more than 4 charts on a page. You should not have more than 4 charts on a page, which is why you can always split your visualizations across different pages of your dashboard. So let me sort this first. I'm going to sort this my amount of person name from smallest to largest. So if I sort it from smallest to largest, then I can bring in my bar chart properly. And then I click OK. Then I do the same thing. So the question here is which vessels are used frequently for voyages? So I'm just going to put the question as the header, right? So I'm going to call this which vessel vessels are used most frequently for voyages. Right, so I'm going to right click on this my count of vessel name, click on hide all field buttons, then I want to delete this, take out this grid lines, take them out, take out this total, reduce this, to about 10, right? Then bring out my data labels. After bringing out my data labels, I want to change the bar. I want to make it a bit fatter. I'm going to come to this my series options here, right? And I'm going to choose my gap width is going to be 102. 102, press enter. Like so, yes. I'm going to copy this. I cut it rather Ctrl X, then come down here to my visual sheet. Sorry, come to my visual sheet. I put this as a wheel. So this can come down here. And so let's make this smaller. So next, I want to take out So next, I want to take out let's take out the shape field. So no field, no outline. So basically, these are my dashboards are created, right? So these are my dashboards are created. So I just select the charts that fits my table, chart that fits my pivot table, and then I bring it into the layout I've created for my dashboard. Yeah, so that's basically how it works. So what I want to show you now is how to make this into another sheet, how to make this table into another sheet so that you can always like, we have multiple business questions to answer now. We have multiple questions to answer. So we can't answer all of them on one dashboard, on one page, right? It's going to look too clustered. So I want to show us how to duplicate this and then make sure that they are all connected. So now, first of all, I'm going to take out the shape field for this. Take it out, shape field. Take out the shape outline, right? Then let me duplicate this. Let me say, move a copy, wait to copy, click OK. Right. So I have my visual one here, I have my visual two here. So let me call this visual one now. Let me call it let me look at our question again. So let's call this cargo performance. Right. So let's call this face visual here. We're going to call this cargo performance. Let's call this cargo performance. Right. So this second visual, the questions we want to answer here are going to be different. So let's call this let's look at our question sheet again. Let's call this route optimization. Let's call this route optimization. Route optimization. So now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put in something like a button in this is my navigation bar. I'm trying to put something like a button there. So anytime I click on route optimization, it should lead me to the other sheets that has visuals and route optimization. You get. So if I'm on route optimization page and then I click on cargo performance, it should lead me back to my cargo performance dashboard. So that's what I want to show us. So all of this is just to avoid clustering when creating our dashboard. You get. So now I'm going to come to my inserts. I've got to insert here. Right, and I'm going to click on illustrations, then shapes. Click on this rectangle here. I'm going to click on this thing here. Right. So I'm going to format this shape outline. Sorry, no outline, shape view. Let's put this as my shape view. Shape effects, my shadow. Then inside here, I'm going to type in. Inside here, I'm going to type in cargo performance. Cargo performance. I want to make this a bit more. Let's make this larger. Then make the words cargo performance. Yes, so cargo performance. So if I right click on this cargo performance, I can link, right? So but before I go into that, let me duplicate this. Control C V. Control Z, let's take. Select this one here now and Control C V. So bring it down here. Right. So I'm going to name this one. Let me first of all take this to black so you can all see. Make this black. So these are cargo performance. Then this one, let's make it black also. We are going to call this our route optimization. And so we call this route optimization. route optimization. Route optimization. Then that's that. So what we're now going to do is we are going to link all these shapes now, right? We're going to link them with this sheet. So I'm going to right click on this my route now, and you see the option to link. So if I click on link, this box will pop out. So which where do I want to link this to? Right? Is it my current folder? Yes, my current folder, or place in this document. Right. So I don't want to click existing file or web page. I want it in my current folder, place in this document. Right. So once I click place in this document, it's going to bring out all the sheets, all the name of the sheets I have. So this is my route optimization I'm trying to link. So the cell reference is going to be route optimization. So if I select route optimization, I'll click OK, right? So that means as I'm on cargo performance, if I click route optimization, it has taken me to the other sheets. That's why you see that this my dashboard moved like this, because now it is now on the other sheets. It's now on my route optimization sheet, right? So all of these are meant to be grouped. So whenever I create my chart like this, whenever I create my chart, after I'm done creating my chart, I'm meant to highlight everything. I do something like Control A, do Control A, and put them all together, so that when I'm moving my dashboard, they are going to move together. So see my total cargo here. You see, because I didn't group them, that's why they're looking scattered when I move it. So my max length, yes. So I have my charts like this. I just I place them all together. They're all separate entities. This is a separate shape, a separate shape. So whenever I put them together like this, I'm meant to do Control A, or just hold my control, select all the shapes that I'm making this up. Select this, select this, select this, do Control A, right? Then come to this my shape format, and then click on group. So once I group them, I can move them all together. Okay, so if I carry them, they all move together. But if they are not grouped, right? Let me do Control Z, Control Z. They are not grouped, they are just like this, and I move. You see that my max length is remaining. That's because they are not good. So that's the essence of grouping your dashboard. Right. So you do Control A, right? So come to this group here and then click group. Right. So now you can move them all together. So now this is my route optimization sheet. Right. So if you come to my cargo performance, see my cargo performance here. So the next thing I want to do now is I want to link this my route optimization now. I want to link it to my cargo performance. Right. So that means if I'm on my route optimization sheet, I should be able to locate my route performance. So I'm going to copy this, Control C, not my route optimization, Control V, Control V, it's pasting somewhere. So let me do it. Let me do it again. Insert illustrations, shapes, this, drag this down, drag this down. Next, Control C, V. I think it's 9 already. I should be rounding up. So just give me a few minutes. Take out my no fill, no outline, and my shadow. Same thing for this shape fill. Using no fill. Let me use this shape outline, no outline, shape effects, shadow. So and duplicate this, Control C view, bring this up here, bring this up here. So call this my cargo performance. It's cargo performance. Control A, make it black. Right. So make it black. And then come down here to call this my, what's the name? My route optimization. Route optimization. So control A. And so this, I'm going to link this. Right click, link, link. So what I want to link this with, I want to link this with cargo performance. So click on my cargo performance and click OK. Right. So if I come to this my cargo performance and click, so take me to my cargo performance sheet. Get so let me put all this as well. New shape format. We can move this to my cargo performance here. Route optimization. So it will come to my route optimization sheet. So normally on my route optimization sheet, I'm meant to have all those questions, right, that I answered for route optimization and the rest. You get have them here. So when I click on route optimization, it takes me to that sheet, showing me the dashboard that are on there. But because of time, I think we don't have time to do all that right now. So now the next thing I want to show you guys are what we call slicers, right? So slicers are used to filter our data, and then it's going to be the last thing I'll be showing you guys. So this is basically how we create our dashboard in Excel. So just one more feature is missing, right? Which is our slicer. So if you want to put in your title, you insert a shape, type in your title and all that. So right now, what you just want to do is just to put in a slicer to show how we can make our dashboard interactive, right? So we're going to come to insert, right? Then we're going to click on slicer, right? So now let me do that on my analysis sheet. So all I have to do is I'm going to select the pivot table, right? So I'll select the pivot table. Let me select this my vessel name. So then my vessel name, right? Then I'm going to come to this slicer here. I can also do it under my pivot table analyze, or the best place is insert. Click on my slicer. Right. So these are all the options I have for slicer. Right. So these are all the options I have for slicer. So let me make use of my captain name for my slicer. So let me take my captain name. Right. And I'll click OK. Right. So my captain name is going to serve as my slicer. So the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that all these pivot tables are connected to this slicer. You get so that whenever I click on a pivot table, right, you see that it is now showing the sum of cargo tones for vessels, right? For all these vessels that their captain is Ahmed Ali. So that's what my slicer is doing. My slicer is filtering my pivot table, right? So if I want this slicer, this particular captain name slicer to have effect on all my pivot tables, right? I have to connect all these pivot tables to my slicer. And how do I do that? I come to this slicer settings here. So once I put in the slicer ribbon is going to appear here, right? And I come to this slicer settings, right? I click on this slicer settings. And then what I want to do is I want to report connections. Oh, not slider settings actually. Report connections. So once I bring down my slicer ribbon will come out here. And then I come to this report connections. I click on report connections. And then all these pivots are my pivot table name, my pivot table 1, pivot table 10, pivot table 11. We could have named our pivot table, right? But then because of time, we didn't go into all of that. But it's just basically the same way we name our table. When you put in a pivot table, you see the option to name, right? So you just name your pivot table. Your pivot table name can be the question you're trying to answer. You get, so I'm just going to tick all of these pivot table 1, pivot table 10, pivot table 11, pivot table 12, pivot table 13, pivot table 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 3, 6, 7, It's 9. Sorry. Good. Okay. So this my pivot table now is going to be interacting with my charts. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to copy this pivot table, right? Let me copy it. Okay, let me even show you how it works let me show you how the slicer works with my pivot table, right? So if I click on Ahmed Ali, you can see that all my charts are interacting with the slicer. All my tables rather are interacting with the slicer. Can clear out the slicer. I click on Ahmed Ali. So it's just filtering, it's telling me now the cargo tones that entered that were on the ships, right? This the total cargo tones that were on the ship that the captain was Ahmed Ali, Ahmed Ali's ship, right? So it's telling me the total cargo tones. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. You get so our slicer helps us to like do some advanced filtering and also some sort of deeper analysis. So instead of having to create charts upon charts upon charts, our slicer also plays this sort of um function or role where we can filter our table based on a particular column. So we don't have to actually create like an actual chart based on that column. You get, I hope you get what I'm trying to say. But then if you don't get what I'm trying to say, well, anytime during the week you can reach out to me, whatever issue you're having, whatever thing you don't understand, and always come to my DM and I'll be happy to explain to you. So let's come back to our sheet. Let's say I decide to put this slicer somewhere here. Right? Put my slicer somewhere here. So if I click on this Ahmed Ali now, I see this interacting with my slicer, with my charts rather. I can clear out the filter, right? Then if I click on Anna Petrova, right? So it's interacting with it, clear it out. Right, click on John Doe, see the way it's interacting with right charts. So that's basically what I have for you guys today. So I wish we had more time. That's just the only thing. I wish we had more time because creating dashboard is like a whole other class on its own. Because we are also meant to talk about things like colors, we're meant to talk about a lot of things. We're meant to talk about all the shapes and all. So, but then because of our limited time and because I think basically everything I've done today is sort of just showing you like how the whole data analysis process is, you get. So after answering, which I think is what you mostly need, right? So after answering your questions, the next thing you want to go ahead is designing your dashboard and creating like a a presentation for it, right? So your dashboard is also meant to have something like an executive summary where you are not just showing your charts, but then you are now listing out like, okay, what you noticed based on your chart, what you noticed based on the questions you answered, and then the recommendations that you are giving. You get so that's what makes your analysis good. So I think I've spent enough time. So right now, I know there are going to be a lot of questions because I actually covered a lot today, but either ways, let's take questions for like the next 20 minutes. So questions.
Hi, everyone. Can start asking our questions now. Like, if you have any concern about the class or about any parts of it that need to be clarified, can bring it on. Can unmute and bring your question up.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Uche here. I was lost in many aspects of the class, to be honest. I'll need to go through the video recording to appraise myself of the whole details that have been stated here. Well, however, my concern is that on the Excel on Excel itself, we have some diagram functions with a bar chart, whatever chart, and stuff like that, and all in the Excel. And my concern is that why would we have to go to PowerPoint to draw out a template and write something and import it into Excel when we already have that we have something similar like that on Excel? Why can't the one on Excel be used? Or is not sufficient or what?
Okay, very good question. So the thing is, if you look at Excel now, Excel does not have like a frame. It does not have like a measurement. You get it is just so wide. You get so there's no like particular frame you can use to frame your dashboard. You get so, but then using PowerPoint is going to put it in a frame, right? It's going to give you like an aspect ratio you can use. So the aspect ratio being used here now is 16:9. You get, but with Excel now, you don't have that sort of aspect ratio you can frame your dashboard into. So that's why you make use of PowerPoint. With PowerPoint, you can always change the aspect ratio of your layout. You can make it 9:16, whatever sort of frame you want. But with Excel, you need just a wide spreadsheet. So just like I said before, Excel was not like originally created for the purpose of dashboard, right? It was created mainly for working with data. That's why you have all these lines and that's why you have all these grid lines everywhere. But when you start working with Power BI, you're not going to need to start creating the layouts on another software and importing it to Power BI because Power BI was created for that purpose. In Power BI, you can select the aspect ratio you want your dashboard or your report to look like. Is it horizontal? Is it 9:16? And what have you? But you can't do so in Excel, which is why you have to use like PowerPoint to wireframe. It's called wireframe. You have to use PowerPoint to wireframe how you want your dashboard to look like. So if you try doing something like this in um, Excel, honestly, before I started wireframing in PowerPoint, I used to use Excel and I will tell you that it is not always so presentable like that because there's no measurement to what you are doing. You get it's just a wide sheet. So you can't really say, oh, you are doing 16:9 and all that you get. So, but PowerPoint helps you measure all your dimensions and all. So that makes your chart looks more presentable. You get so that's the reason why we wire from the PowerPoint space.
Another question, please, or just a suggestion, rather. Now, basically, the activities of this class, it's actually much broader than what some of us may have imagined, And I've known from the onset that Excel is a bit broad, and probably that's what has always delayed my learning on it. But however, I appreciate that at least after the end of the section, I mean the whole study, we should be able to at least know the basics, the basics of what we need to do, when I mean the basics, I mean we don't need to know the those theories that are attached to it and stuff like that and all those whatever. I mean, for any any maritime head, the person should know what he or she is searching for. Well, what I'm saying is that if we can have for the basics, I mean things like okay, we have a stage by stage process of what we need to do. A very simple summarized stage by stage process whereby we just say for cleaning, do this, do this, do this, for pivoting, do this, do this, do that, for stage by stage, just like that. And it gives you, whereby by the time you just go into the practical work and you're really lost, you can just look at that, what are those process, and you just need to do and it quickly refreshes your mind on what to do or guides you properly. Personally, for me, I I become a person that like to, if I play around a software for a long time, I will learn it myself if I'm keen about learning it or if I have passion for it. I don't know how it is for others, but I'm just saying that if that may help. But I don't know what other people think. Thank you.
Thank
I
you, Mr.
appreciate
Maxi, for
your
that.
suggestion.
Peculiar, sorry, hold on. I'll take it from there. So, for the class, right? I understand your point that maybe you were thinking that we're just going to learn basic. So initially we mentioned that we are not teaching us to be a data analyst, but we are teaching us to be able to visualize issues in the maritime sector and able to build it on a dashboard. And even if you see a dashboard, you can be able to make an executive summary about it, that this is where the problem is coming from. You can give an insight, right? So that's our major output of this class. That's our focus. So for your advice about the summary, yes, we'll definitely do that. When we finish Excel, we are going to make a summary of everything that was said in the Excel class, like step by step. Basically, you need to know your data cleaning. You understand? So, but we are going to have a breakdown of everything after each section. So initially we had introduction to the class, which was the first week. Then the second week we had Excel, second week and third week. So today we are rounding up Excel and we are moving into SQL for the next 2 weeks. So during the week you are going to receive like a roundup of the class. Like if you need to build a dashboard on Excel and you don't have your teacher to hold you by hand, you can be able to do that. And definitely after the whole class, we are not going to leave you. You'll always be here to ask us questions. Okay, I was doing this in my office. Maybe it's not even related directly to what you were taught in class, but this is the issue I faced. Yeah, definitely we'll be there to help you with that. So not to worry. Everybody will be fine, and data visualization is going to be something that you have to be playing with every day. That's the focus. Thank you for that. Bekla, you can go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, that's basically it. So if there are any more questions,
Yeah, I
but
think there's a lady that asked a question.
yeah,
What's her
only
name again?
Bolanle.
Bolanle, yeah. I think she's no more on this call.
No, she is. Bolanle
Okay,
is on the
Bolanle,
call.
do you want me to unmute you? Bolanle.
okay, yes, then Mr. Joseph, we can.
Hello, good evening to you all. Thank you,
Good evening.
Joseph. Thank you so much for facilitation. I'm also going to throw light a little bit on what the first speaker spoke of, the first contribution, that there should be a step-by-step summary of how we are to go about it. Some of us have knowledge of Excel, Microsoft Excel, but we have not been doing this. Okay, so it's going to be a step-by-step process in a simple form. I know that won't be difficult to do, but if there's any way that should be done for us, it will be highly appreciated in a simple form in how to reach to this particular dashboard that you have created, a step-by-step. It will be nice. So when we are not, because we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to practice, we use our time at work or at home to at least use the step-by-step process, and actually reaching at this final stage you have just. But in conclusion, it's been nice. For some of the things that I saw you do, I can do them. I've been doing it, but in another form, not particularly for maritime data analysis. But it's also nice. But there's also a question: is there any way that we can analyze maritime data using SPSS? That's what I want to know as well.
I'm not really familiar with SPSS. I have
Okay.
someone else, but I'm not familiar with that software.
Okay, but is it possible that we can analyze data, the data given? Is it possible that we can use, because I
Yes,
little bit knowledge in analyzing data
yes,
using. Is it possible that we can also
yes,
use data to
yes,
the raw data for
yes.
analyzing
You
it?
can use
Yes.
SPSS.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
SPS is for analyzing data.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So let's say you find it very difficult again in understanding Power BI to analyze. Is it safe for you to use SPSS?
Can you visualize your data with SPSS?
Okay. 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 Thank you very much. I appreciate.
Okay.
I don't know who was talking, but thank you. I think Mr. Okay, that was
Joseph.
Joseph, right? Yeah. Thank you
Yes,
for
no
that.
problem.
Yeah, you can use SPSS, you can use your Excel, you can use Power BI, you can use Cognos. So it depends on what you are comfortable using, and it depends on the severity of the data you are actually working on too. Understand? So sometimes it's easier to work on Power BI than Excel. Sometimes easier on Excel. So it depends on the amount of data you have, or like the severity of it. Like some dashboards, you can use just one page, and there are some dashboards that you use like 3 pages to build, 3 tabs. You understand? So it depends on that. And yeah, I agree that we are going to have a breakdown of each classes. And I appreciate that you have been working on that. You have been working on some Excel before now, so at least it give you more insight about what we are trying to do. Thank you. Okay, yeah,
Thank
go
you.
ahead, Joseph.
Again, what I want to know is the extraction of when you have analyzed the data from SPSS. It's where now you take the data and develop the dashboard, right? The analysis you have done on SPSS can be taken now to do the dashboard, right?
Yeah, it can, but we're actually not having SPSS on these course modules, so we'll not be going deeper into that. But then
Okay, no,
we can talk about that like after the class.
okay. I just wanted to know because I'm so conversant with SPSS.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to know. If you can take the analysis you have already done to paste it at the dashboard, it can work excellently well. That's what I wanted to know.
Sounds good. But you can. But we just
Okay,
talk
thank you.
about that. Like, yeah, you can reach out to me or Peculiar after the class. So don't, because it's not part of our modules. We can talk
Okay,
about it. Yeah.
I do understand, and I also want to learn the new things. So I just wanted to know for the time being if that one can also work. That's what I wanted to know. But
Yeah,
thank
sure,
you
you
very much.
can. Yeah, you're welcome.
Sorry, please, just to add a little to what Joseph said. Basically, I haven't used SPSS before. It's my first time hearing about it, to be honest. But however, as someone that has done a bit of graphics and the graphics design, most times you may have different software that do the same thing. And once you're familiar with one, it gives you an edge. You can easily maneuver the other. So if you're familiar with SPSS, I mean, Excel shouldn't be a difficulty for you. You should be able to maneuver through your way because most of them, they do share some similarities in terms of that dashboard and some other tools. Thank you.
Thank you, Maxine, for that. That's a very good point, actually, because once you can work on Excel, you can do your dashboard on Excel. To work on Power BI will be easier. To work on Cognos will be easier. To work on SPSS will be easier. So you just need the basic ideas. So you just need the basic ideas of all these things, how your slicers works, how you can make your KPIs, and you can analyze all of this and and also analyze, like break down your dashboard, you can explain it. So thank you everyone for those questions. I don't know if there's anyone that have any more questions. Yeah.
Well,
Okay, so Mr.
I
Toby is just hearing SPSS for the first time.
yeah, the first time I'm hearing SPSS. However, I think what Bonali wanted to ask, she's currently feeling like it's no longer he's past that time and she doesn't. But am I speaking your mind? Because you were, is that the case? If you wanted to say something at the early stage where you needed clarity, but that time is past at the moment. It doesn't matter. You can still ask.
Okay, my volume might actually even be down because I don't think she's hearing us. I will also call her attention on the charts later on. There's question that she needs to clarify.
All right.
Okay. Can I say something for those of us that little bit let me say this is the first time of hearing of SPSS. So SPSS is Statistical Package for Social Science.
Yeah.
At just a click, of you entering your analysis, okay, they can what how should I even put it? They can simply analyze your data at just a click, So it's a very nice software, statistical software. So if you can search now and you can start having a little bit of knowledge about it, which I think is nice as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Joseph. So I think we'll call it a day or a week because we need to round up the class for the people that are planning for the week. Going to work. Mr. Toby, is that correct?
I didn't catch the last part of what you said. Please say again.
Yeah, I said, should we call it a night? Or a day or a week?
Yes,
Because
yes, yes.
people are planning for the week, for Monday resumption. So
Yeah, I agree
we
with
need
you.
to close the
I
class now.
I agree. But I also encourage everyone to still anonymously put their feedback. I know we've gotten similar feedback from Maazi Uche and Joseph Vandi, but it would be great to also get other people's feedback because your feedback is what makes this course valuable to you. The feedback that you guys shared on this call makes so much sense because it helps you understand the summary of what had happened from the start of the course from the start of every module, summary of every module. So that's a very valuable thing to. It will be great if more feedbacks come, just so we can implement it before the end of the course. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time, and then we'll look again into it next week. Have good evenings and good nights. Take care.
Good evening. Good night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Okay. Good night. See you tomorrow.
Good night,
See you next week.
everyone.
Okay.